जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेव टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि चिंत। मेरे साथ हैं आर्शिया मलिक जी, एक कमेंटेटर अबाउट कश्मीर एंड जम्मू इश्यूज। वहाँ के वासी हैं, ऑब्वियसली शी नोज मोर अबाउट दैट प्लेस। तो मैंने सोचा इनसे एक बात करी जाए कि जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर जो एक प्लान्ड इलेक्शंस हैं, और जहाँ पर प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी ने भी बोला था कि सितंबर अक्टूबर तक कुछ इलेक्शंस करेंगे वहां पर, क्या इलेक्शंस नहीं बोला था। तो वी डोंट नो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज गोना हैपन। लो लेवल इलेक्शंस होंगे, अपर लेवल इलेक्शंस होंगे, असेंबली इलेक्शंस होंगे, क्या होगा वी डोंट नो। बट इन जनरल, क्या ये स्टेप एक करेक्ट स्टेप है कि आर वी रशिंग इनटू समथिंग? क्या ये बहुत जल्द है? लेट मी से दिस, मैं दोनों तरफ के आर्गुमेंट्स रखूंगा आपके सामने एंड देन वी विल सी हाउ हाउ द गवर्नमेंट टेक्स इट फॉरवर्ड। नमस्कार आशा जी, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ज्वाइनिंग इन एंड लेट्स काइंड ऑफ
Hey, Adi, thank you for
इंटरेस्ट
inviting me again.
इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्वर्सेशन, सो आई एम लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू इट। मेरे को ये बताइए कि आप आपका मेरा जो पर्सनल चैट हुआ था उसके अंदर आपने बोला कि इट्स टू सून। कई लोगों ने और भी मेरे को बोला है, बाय द वे दिस इज टू सून। मैंने बहुत लोगों से बात करी इसके बारे में। दे आल्सो सेड कि नहीं यार, थोड़ा जल्दी है, कुछ चीजें हैं।
Mhm.
कई लोगों ने मेरे को बोला कि नहीं यार, कभी तो करना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, यूर इन प्रॉब्ली अ गुड बैड अगली सिचुएशन, वट एवर इट इज, यू नीड टू गेट द गेम बैक गोइंग, क्योंकि आपके ऊपर अदरवाइज फालतू का चक्कर ये चलता रहेगा। एंड
Mhm.
अगर आप टेररिज्म की तरफ देखें तो टेररिज्म तो चलती रहेगी। दैट इज समथिंग टिल द टाइम पाकिस्तान एग्जिस्ट एंड व्हिच आई बिलीव पर्सनली। ईरान को इतना ठोक ठा के बराबर कर रखा है इसराइल ने, लेकिन टेररिज्म फिर भी करता रहता है वो। तो द फाइनल सोल्यूशन ऑफ टेररिज्म इज ऑब्वियसली पाकिस्तान गोइंग आउट। आपका क्या कहना है? व्हाट इज योर आर्गुमेंट कि भाई इलेक्शंस इज टू सून, और क्या व्हाट डू यू हैव टू से टू दिस एंटायर थिंग?
I've been saying it for months, ever since I heard they plan to hold elections. It's too soon.
हम्म।
And why is it too soon? Because as a native resident, this terrorism that we talk about, we have lived through it. We understand its nature. And Islamic terrorism is something that keeps adapting. So what is happening, Abhi, considering all the terrorist groups have moved down to Jammu, we are seeing the situation, we are analyzing it. They are adapting. It's a new kind of hybrid terrorism. हमें इंडियन आर्मी की कैपेबिलिटी पे कोई शक नहीं है, लेकिन जब टेररिज्म शुरू हुआ था कश्मीर में, इट डिड टेक एटलीस्ट अ डेकेड फॉर द इंडियन आर्मी टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू crush that
हम्म।
terrorism. This new kind of hybrid terrorism, which is much more deadlier, it's going to take at least a few years for the army to do it.
हाँ,
So
काफी
we are not saying कि
नया है।
election ना करें.
हम्म।
इट इज अ डेमोक्रेसी, आपको इवेंचुअली कभी ना कभी तो इलेक्शन करने पड़ेंगे. हम ये कह रहे हैं कि जो लोग रिस्पॉन्सिबल थे इस पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन के लिए 1990 से एंड देन 2010 में, दे आर स्टिल अलाइव, दे आर स्टिल देयर, दे स्टिल हैव अ होल्ड ऑन द पीपल. एंड वो जो फ्रेश फेसेस हैं पॉलिटिक्स में, उनको वो स्पेस नहीं देंगे. तो आप अगर इलेक्शंस होल्ड करेंगे, यू विल बी एनेबलिंग दोस वेरी पीपल अगेन. इफ यू सी देयर सोशल मीडिया हैंडल्स, दीज आर द वेरी पीपल हु आर वांटिंग इलेक्शंस. कि उनको पता है इंडिया की जो सेकुलर लिबरल डेमोक्रेसी है हमारे फेवर में होती है. हम अपना सॉफ्ट सेपरेटिज्म चलाते रहेंगे, हमें फंड्स मिलते रहेंगे, हमें अपना टाइम निकालना है, हमारे बच्चे जो हैं वो अच्छी लाइफ लिव करेंगे, वो चाहे डोमेस्टिकली हो या अब्रॉड हो, बस हमें तो ये करना है. सो द कॉमन पीपल का उनका एस्पिरेशन नहीं है. हम कॉमन पीपल का एस्पिरेशन हमेशा से क्या रहा था? पीस. एंड वी गॉट दैट पीस ऑन August 5, 2019. रिमेंबर, इंडिया पे बहुत सारे एलिगेशंस लगे थे, इंटरनेट बंद कर दिया है, इन पॉलिटिशियंस को हाउस अरेस्ट किया. वी वर वेरी हैप्पी, क्योंकि आवर चिल्ड्रन स्टॉप डाइंग ऑन द स्ट्रीट्स. हमारे बच्चे मरना बंद हुए. नो स्टोन पेल्टिंग वाज देयर. No civilian has died in these 5 years. The only unfortunate civilians who've died are the Kashmiri Pandits who've gotten jobs there. That's the new form of terrorism, terror फैलाना दोबारा से. तो हम ये कह रहे हैं, अभी इलेक्शंस बहुत जल्दी है. वो जो 3 डेकेड्स का पॉलिटिकल वो इस्लामाइजेशन हुआ है, उसको जाने में टाइम लगेगा. वही पॉलिटिशियंस ने जिन्होंने एनेबल किया था वो इस्लामाइजेशन, वो अभी भी अपने पोजीशंस में है. Of course, India is not North Korea or China that it's going to do away with the politicians. It gives them ample space. हमारे ही इलेक्शंस ने इंजीनियर रशीद को पार्लियामेंट में भी लाके खड़ा कर दिया, राइट? हम ये कह रहे हैं कि गिव दोज यंगस्टर्स अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ टाइम. वो अपनी अपनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज में काम कर रहे हैं, दे वर्किंग ऑन द ग्राउंड, दे आर टॉकिंग टू पीपल डायरेक्टली. ये जो एपिक डेमोनाइजेशन ऑफ द बीजेपी हुआ है कि any scheme coming from BJP is considered to be anti-Muslim. Any new plan coming, any developmental work happening, it's considered to be anti-Islam. वो परसेप्शन ठीक करने में टाइम लगेगा। तो वो जो एंड मेरा पर्सनल ये है कि वो जो वर्क एथिक्स है, आई एम अ स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रोपाउंडर ऑफ वर्क एथिक्स, वो एलजी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के अंदर हमें दिख रहे हैं। The bureaucrat is there in his office, the administrator is there in his office, the counselor is there in his office, the clerks are there in their office. I won't say corruption is going to go, like you say, terrorism is never going to go, corruption is never going to go, we are never going to be a corruption free society, लेकिन कुछ हद तक हम पे जो प्रेशर था ना कॉमन पीपल पे, वो कम हुआ है। ये पता है कि अकाउंटेबिलिटी कहीं ना कहीं तो है, कहीं ना कहीं एटलीस्ट मैं तो कंप्लेन कर सकती हूँ कि मेरी फाइल नहीं जा रही है, वो बंदा अपनी सीट पे नहीं है, वो जुमा नमाज के साथ गाइड नहीं हुआ है, nepotism थोड़ा सा मैं कंप्लेन तो कर सकती हूँ एटलीस्ट। So this is what we are saying. It's too soon to hold elections. You will eventually be holding elections, but there has to be a strategic way to go about it. That's what we are saying.
नहीं, point well taken, but politicians का आप क्या कर सकते हो? That's something that you need to ask, because ये तो बैठे रहेंगे यहाँ पर ही. It's not that you can wait for them to pop and then only आप election करोगे और ये सब करोगे.
एक
तो ये
होता
तो
है
बैठे रहेंगे.
पॉलिटिशियन, एक होता है
इनका
पॉलिटिशियन कि पॉलिटिशियन का डबल स्पीक एंड ये, these are not politicians. These are politicians. These are Islamists masquerading as politicians. And if we go by the agencies and the raids that every now and then the NIA and the SIA are doing, they are actually funded by a foreign power. So you cannot call them politicians. It's treason, basically. Why would you have a treasonous politician in place in the first place? Right?
Hmm. See, I mean, one of the things is कि I am of the proponent कि भैया अगर आपको कुछ दिखता है कि ये लोग उल्टे काम कर रहे हैं and they've got some sort of a foreign, kind of base and stuff like that, then they should be picked up, charged and thrown inside. But we all know हमारा judiciary इतना 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 sweet है, इतना beautiful है. और आजकल वैसे भी दुनिया में ना जुडिशरी का एक गेम चल रहा है. आपने देखा ये बांग्लादेश में भी जो आग लगी है, it is not because of the
Yes.
government, it's actually because of the judiciary.
Judiciary.
The Manipur
They
fire
brought in the
was
quota
started by
and then took it back, but it was too late by then. Yes,
ठीक
I
है.
know.
मणिपुर की आग किसके लिए लगी थी? एससी कोटा जो वहां पर हाई कोर्ट का डिसीजन आया. यहाँ पर भी इंडिया में भी with the chief minister Delhi ऊपर नीचे during the elections, how much what all happened. So the
Yes.
judiciary has found new wings, and they are kind of flying in a separate direction. तो आप क्या कर सकते हो उसको? Realistically, see, you can't just arbitrarily do that कि आप उसको उठा के अंदर फेंक दिया ये वो and all that. You can't pick up stuff, people. What you're doing is a crackdown right now, and just allow me another 10 seconds. You're doing a crackdown on the OGW networks, the drug networks, and the crypto networks जहाँ से इनके पास पैसे आ रहे हैं. Massive crackdowns are happening right now, and that's something I
Yes.
cover on the channel. बड़े this thing, अब आपका जो financial intelligence unit है, is going hardcore. I mean, they've already covered about $100 million worth of stuff which was coming in for terrorism, drugs and
Yes.
terrorism. तो ये
Yes.
तो चलेगा. One of the biggest things that was taken is the LG Powers Reorganization Act जो अभी recently किया है. उसमें now Chief Minister has become, powers have been cut. So is that a preparation for something like that? कि अच्छा ठीक है, either ways, let's restore the setup, but we will control everything because these guys are going to be powerless.
I would hope so. I would hope so because every time we see promotions happening in office, I mean, I have relatives all over, so they keep telling us कि why are the Jamatis being rewarded? And I was like, rewarded in what sense? बोला उन्हीं को promotion मिल रही है, उन्हीं को security मिल रही है, वो government jobs में है. अब NIA SIA जितना भी overground network ये dismantle करे, लेकिन some people are going to slip through the cracks. And we
Obviously.
know each other. Everybody knows who was what and who was promoting what when. अभी सबके U-turn हुए हैं, लेकिन that doesn't mean कि we don't know each other. So they are like कि the Jamatis are getting promoted. And do you know what that means to have a Jamati in a position of power? Because in the next few years, he or she will be, passing laws and passing bills that will be detrimental to the people. So I hope it is this LG administration's powers are being boosted. I hope it's a planning for the next few years. But elections, वही मैंने कहा, it's too soon. It should also be a grand plan. In a few years' time, we will be holding democratic elections. लेकिन आप अपने जो pro India forces हैं ground पे, जिनकी अभी भी बात नहीं आ रही है सामने, उनको तो empower करें. वो time लगेगा empower करने में. क्योंकि इस्लामिज्म ऐसी ही चीज है, to come forward to speak, it takes a lot of risk, And unless, the ground situation is safer to speak, I think it's too soon.
A lot of one of the things that you're also seeing is a combination of Israel situation and India situation. तो कहीं ना कहीं वो जो पैलेस्टीन को कश्मीर से जोड़ने की काफी कोशिश की जा रही है, and there is a lot of data now around, and I've been saying this since the day the war started in Israel कि ये they will stick the same narrative. उसके बाद
I've
आप
been
देखें
saying it since the 1990s that the Hamas playbook has been in play in Kashmir. I've been saying it since the 1990s.
तो नाम शाम इन लोगों ने अभी नए नए बनाए हैं ना, रेजिस्टेंस ये वो and all that stuff, so
Yes,
they've kind
yes.
of rebranded
वो इसलिए
themselves.
क्योंकि जब हमने पुशबैक नैरेटिव स्टार्ट किया तो we started calling them out for their Muslim thing, the Islam thing. It was always Islamism, it was always Islamic front, it was always Muslim front, it was Muslim resistance. So now they are adapting. This is how Islamism works. They adapt. They understood it. They needed a secular language now. They needed secular jargon to, because nobody was buying the fact in the West also कि it's a secular movement, it's a liberal movement. Nobody was buying it anymore. Especially when we started giving testimony that the Kashmiri Pandits had been thrown out, the temples had been vandalized, beauty parlors had been shut down, right? Cinema houses had been burned. So it was clear it was not something about, an organic movement about freedom or sovereignty or something like that. It was simply an Islamist movement. So now they understood and they adapted. And this is part of it. This is happening to the Palestinian movement also, the Hamas movement also. They are using this resistance thing. तो ये वो उसमें पड़ता है आपका रेड ग्रीन अलायंस में. The leftists are educating the Islamists, forgetting the fact कि if the Islamists come in power, they will be the first people to turn around and kill the leftists. जो ईरान में हुआ था, right? 1979. So it's a part of that. It's a part of that. मैं क्यों अपोज कर रही हूँ इलेक्शंस? क्योंकि I see it as a bigger plan of geopolitics, which our government may be thinking of, and a mistake that they've done in the past about the Dulat doctrine. I call this politicians को ये space देना, elections करवाना, I call it Dulat doctrine 2.0. आप फिर वही गलती कर रहे हैं. आप फिर ये समझ रहे हैं कि उनको टेबल पे लाने की जरूरत है. Remember, they were the ones who brought a gun to the table in 1990. There were grievances, no doubt. I am a resident of Kashmir. I know there were grievances. I know there were administrative problems. I knew electricity नहीं पहुंच रही थी, development works नहीं हो रहे थे, nepotism था, corruption था, इतना कुछ था. And the only way the Kashmiri could come on the street was, pelt stones, क्योंकि administration सुनती ही नहीं थी. We had these corrupt politicians then also. Farkubla तो golf खेलने चले गए थे when Kashmir started burning, right? And he still has the temerity to talk and say that we need to talk to Pakistan. ठीक है, तो वो अभी भी है. Nothing has changed in these 35 years. हम आज भी यही कह रहे हैं कि प्रॉब्लम्स वही हैं. अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, ठीक है, डेवलपमेंट चाहिए. सबको श्रीनगर दिखाई देता है, ये जो फोटो ऑप्स आपके पोस्ट कार्ड टाइप के ये वीडियोस आते रहते हैं. फॉरगेटिंग द फैक्ट कि अभी भी देयर आर इनएक्सेसिबल हैमलेट्स इन कश्मीर. वी स्टिल हैव बॉर्डर विलेजेस टू डेवलप. देयर आर स्टिल हेल्थ क्लिनिक्स टू गो इनटू माउंटेनियस रीजन्स. अभी भी कम्युनिटीज हैं जो मॉडर्नाइज नहीं हुई हैं, राइट? अनंतनाग एंड श्रीनगर आर नॉट द ओनली थिंग्स अबाउट कश्मीर. देयर इज अ होल लॉट टू कश्मीर. So what we are saying is, by the time a certain mechanism is in place, certain institutions are in place, and they have been solidified, don't do the same mistake all over again. Because you will be undoing all these years of work. One by the military, that the military has done, and one by the politicians that the politicians have done. One by the economists also. तो एक स्टेबल इकोनॉमी के लिए हमें टाइम दीजिए. हमारी जो जनरेशन्स हैं वो स्टार्टअप समझ रही हैं, वो एप्स डेवलप कर रही है, वो साइंटिफिकली जा रही है. हमने अभी तक अपना करिकुलम पूरी तरह चेंज नहीं किया है स्कूल्स, कॉलेजेस और कश्मीर यूनिवर्सिटी और सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी में. उसमें अभी काफी वक्त लगेगा. हमें अपनी लैंग्वेज जो है, हमारा जो नेशनल प्राइड है, वो अभी भी पर्शियन अल्फाबेट लेके चलती है. वो अपनी पुरानी शारदा लिपि के ये नहीं गई है. इट हैजंट रिक्लेम्ड इट्स शारदा स्क्रिप्ट. सो देयर इज अ होल लॉट ऑफ वर्क टू बी डन if you want to untangle the Islamization. That's what we are saying. We are eventually going to move towards a democracy. Of course, we celebrate democracy. India has always been a democracy. You have been partitioned. You have had two Pakistans. Kashmir was just about lost to you in the 1990s. So understand how serious it has become in 1990. Every geopolitical analyst I talked to, and I asked them, because my late husband said that they had almost given up on Kashmir in 1990. So I keep asking, कि ये सच है? They said, हाँ, the border had almost come to Chenab. Even if it was just for a brief few weeks, they had almost lost Kashmir. So you didn't have the plot then. Dossier upon dossier had been sent to New Delhi in the 80s, in the 70s. Remember that governor who died in a crash? I
Hmm.
keep forgetting his name. And he was there in the agencies, and like he kept telling you, he kept warning New Delhi that ammunition is being dumped, sleeper cells are being activated, boys are going across the border, but you didn't listen. So now, as Kashmiris, we are telling you, we don't want those politicians. We don't want that democratic structure yet. Give us time. क्योंकि हमें अपने बच्चों का पता है वो जो इस्लामिज्म का वायरस है उसको निकालने में बड़ा टाइम लगता है या
Hmm. Although कहीं ना कहीं there is nothing officially announced. ठीक है, ऐसा कुछ कोई भी announcement नहीं है अभी भी about an election or anything like that. किस level
ये
का
भी
election
कहते
होगा
हैं
वो भी नहीं पता, वो भी
ये
नहीं
भी
पता
कहते
किसी
हैं लोग कि they are, he's probably appeasing the loud voices who keep saying India has become fascism. ये भी कुछ लोग कहते
हाँ
हैं
वो
but
मतलब एक अच्छा हम
considering
कर रहे हैं कि उसको थोड़ा पुश
पास्ट
फॉरवर्ड।
रिकॉर्ड जो है वो जो गलतियां हुई हैं बार बार न्यू दिल्ली से वी आर ऑलवेज वैरी ऑफ दैट वी आर ऑलवेज वैरी ऑफ दैट एंड रिमेंबर डिस्पाइट ऑल द एलिगेशंस इट्स अ बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट यू नो इट्स नॉट एग्जैक्टली अ बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट आई मीन गवर्नमेंट के अंदर भी गवर्नमेंट्स हैं पैरेलल है आई डोंट वांट टू कोट अ बॉलीवुड मूवी हियर बट देन दिस इज ट्रू सरकार बेशक उनकी है सिस्टम हमारा है दिस इज डेफिनेटली देयर आई हैव
दूसरा
एक्सपीरियंस्ड इट इन माय पर्सनल लाइफ देयर आर ऑलवेज फोर्सेस स्टॉपिंग यू एंड यू डोंट इवन नो कि कौन कहाँ से क्या
हाँ
बोल रहा है
हाँ
किसको क्या इन्फॉर्मेशन दे रहा है राइट व्हाट
डीप
इज आवर
स्टेट तो है
पर्सनल
ही,
डीप स्टेट
डीप स्टेट तो है ही। बांग्लादेश में देख लो कैसे किस तरह से ऑपरेट करता है, जिसके बारे में हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं। वी बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस थिंग ऑन द चैनल। एज अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट, आई हैव बीन फोकसिंग ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर वन एस्पेक्ट ऑफ दिस ग्लोबल एजेंडा फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम। मैं तो बात कर रहा हूँ कि ये डेंजरस है, हम लोग भी खेल रहे हैं उनके साथ, वो लोग भी खेल रहे हैं। समटाइम्स दे विल टेक अ लॉस, समटाइम्स यू विल। दिस इज अ
बट
गेम यू
वी आर
टू
नॉट
प्ले।
स्मार्ट they are smarter in the sense they're desperate also they are ready to blow themselves off
सो
we are not we will always be in a
हाँ, आप वो डीप स्टेट की बात कर रहे हो पाकिस्तानी, मैं ग्लोबल डीप स्टेट की बात कर रहा हूँ। पाकिस्तानी तो पागल हैं सारे, उनको तो जहां मर्जी
फिर
आग
भी
लगा दो
हमारे डीप
वो जाते हैं वो
स्टेट
तो।
में वो है नहीं आई
हमारा नहीं,
मीन
आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द ग्लोबल डीप स्टेट, द
global
ग्लोबल।
deep state of course you can see it in plane in Bangladesh it is in
या
play
दैट्स व्हाट आई एम
right now
टॉकिंग अबाउट। सो ग्लोबल डीप स्टेट के तो एजेंडा है ही, एंड दैट्स समथिंग व्हिच इज वेल नोन। बट समवेयर डाउन द लाइन वन वुड आल्सो काउंटर दिस एंड से कि ठीक है, अब वो पॉलिटिशियंस आएंगे बट लोग भी तो बदले हैं वहां पर, लोगों की तो एस्पिरेशंस ऊपर गई हैं। व्हाई वुड द पीपल ब्रिंग इन दो सेम गाइज अगेन? अब राशिद इंजीनियर का एक जो केस है, यस दैट इज देयर, बट राशिद इंजीनियर का केस, देयर आर लेयर्स विद इन लेयर्स विद इन लेयर्स विद इन लेयर्स, देयर इज अ
it
लॉट।
was played very cleverly. The sons
ठीक
never
है,
went about going and talking about his past. When they simply said, "It's a father. We have two sons, and our father is in jail."
and
It
that
was a
was
very
more
clever
or less
campaign.
allowed, that was
Very
more or
clever
less allowed
campaign.
to happen, that was allowed to happen, and this and that। कई लोग बोलते हैं
I
इसके बारे
heard
में,
that.
इसको
I heard
कई
that. I mean, even the agencies were surprised
no,
of the outcome.
some people said that they wanted to actually gauge कितना है ये।
Uh,
You also gauge ना, आप till the time you don't put your finger into the water, you don't know how hot it is, right? So you put some guy into this thing and see, okay, this is the reach, here are the places we need to work, here are the communities we need to work। So some people say that, I don't know, I have not been able to kind of get any evidence, because ये चीजें तो obviously कोई आके खुले में तो बोलेगा नहीं कि हम ये कर रहे थे।
it's
तो
risky. To do
it
this
is।
is risky also
Hmm,
because you're risking sending a completely opposite message
hmm,
to people like us. It sends a completely opposite message. It's the
hmm,
same psyops when Arundhati was shaking hands with Yasin Malik. I mean, I
hmm,
remember that. It was such a major setback for us. They are being invited to platforms. And we have given blood. Our people have died. I'm not just talking about Kashmiri Pandits or the soldiers. It was secular Muslims. For us, it
hmm.
was a major setback. And then to do this again, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I understand statecraft. Like to have Engineer Rashid in my parliament, a parliament that gives me the constitution where I can practice my religion in whatever way I deem fit or not practice at all, it's insulting.
That's
It's a
true.
big slap on my
There's no question
patriotism.
about it. But the point that I'm asking you is, would the people bring those same idiots back?
They will.
Have the
They
people
will.
not changed?
Because the narrative is such. The narrative, once you conflate it with Islam, once you conflate it with religion at every step. Did you check the statements of the former mayor of Srinagar city when this
Yeah.
poor woman she was, driving? So that's the kind they want. That's the kind that they have, made it into a fight for Islam, and it works
Hmm.
every time. Be it India, be it Bangladesh, be it European cities, be it North America, Canada. It works every time you say that there's an attack on Islam. People का वो rationality खत्म हो जाता है out of the window. They just know that this person is my brother in a way that he's my co-religionist. Whether he's right or whether he's wrong, I need to put him in power so that my faith is protected, irrespective whether that person in power will give me those facilities that I need to live life day to day. तो ये है वो जो कन्फ्लेशन, ये शेख अब्दुल्ला के टाइम भी हुआ था. इस्लाम खतरे में है. Remember the Moe Sharif thing, that incident of the prophet's hair disappearing, using communalism all along. His son has done the same thing. Forget the psyops of having a Krishna Murti in his residence and all, and inviting the wrath of the Islamists. It's a psyop. And
Hmm.
his grandson is also doing the same thing. And then the other cronies, the Muftis, Abdullahs, they've always done it. They always want to use Islam as a weaponized tool because they want to be in power. It's simply about power, wealth. क्योंकि वो छिन जाएगी. वो गुपकार रोड पे, गुपकार एरिया में, पॉश एरिया में, मिलिटराइज जोन में रहना, वहां से ट्वीट करना, दिस मुफ्ती's daughter doing it. If that Z security is removed, the people are going to tear them to pieces. They know this.
Hmm.
But because you have conflated it with religion, the whole narrative, you're saying that we are the only ones protecting your faith. Of course, the people are going to vote for them. This is not a region which is 24 hours on Facebook or Twitter or social media. This is a region which is scraping by. It is now saying that former terrorist families, they are thriving, they have mansions built, and it is saying that when we, हमने जो ये patriotism दिखाया, उससे हमें क्या मिला? Obviously, they're going to think twice. Think of the voters' mind. हम तो ये मीडिया के इसमें we fell into the media thing when they said कि 58% turnout है. Why don't you see कि वो rearrangement क्या था? You had Anantnag and Rajouri district, right? Rajouri used to belong to Jammu division, and Anantnag was in Srinagar division. If you really break down the numbers, Anantnag का जो voter turnout है वो उतना ही है जो 2014-20 उससे पहले था. ये तो रजौरी में आपको मिला difference, right? Increment. And chunki Rajouri had been, hyphenated with Anantnag, you thought कि voter turnout ज़्यादा था. So voter turnout उतना नहीं था. They are always going to bring back a person who stands up and says कि I'm going to protect your faith. Remember, it's been Wahhabized. The region was Wahhabized in 1990s. You had Wahhabi preachers. You still have Wahhabi preachers there. And they see what is happening in Gaza. And they have the power of social media. So these reels and clips and shorts that they are sharing, especially in WhatsApp, it's a new kind of recruitment going on. They may not be picking up arms now, but they are doing a completely different thing. Like I said, terrorism adapts, Islamism adapts. They started adapting secular liberal language. Hence, it's now becoming resistance and not, Muslim Liberation Front or Islamic resistance movement. It's not that. लेकिन वो एजेंडा, वो ऑब्जेक्टिव तो वही है. तो टू सून, एब्सोल्युटली टू सून. जैसा आपने कहा लेयर्स, वो लेयर्स को अनटैंगल करने में आपको काफी टाइम लगेगा. Yes, I understand India's dilemma also. They need to hold elections. They've always been democratic. Lekin you have a problem, sir. You have a problem in your most troublesome state. You've had this problem for the last, not just 35 years, for the last 70 years, if you start by 1947. You've had wars over this state. And you've been attacked. Your parliament has been attacked. You had attacks in Indian cities, which are far away from this region, right? So you cannot afford to play liberal democracy in this region. Not yet, at least. Not yet.
Fantastic. Thank you, G. Thank you so much for this insight. As I said, I'm going to put somebody who's going to talk pro to this thing, and then probably see if I can get all of you guys into a panel and see if we can actually come up to something. Because I think public debate is most important in these issues.
Yes, it is.
We normally do it in isolation chambers and stuff like that. Let's throw it out into the public domain and see what the people have to say. वो बड़ा important है हमारे लिए. As a democracy, अगर that's what we want to be, let people give their decisions and let people of the country also put in their two bits. And ठीक है, उसके बाद कहीं गवर्नमेंट की आवाज को
I
जाता है.
would support your point. I've been writing about it. I would support your point, but the problem is कि वो जो आप इको चेम्बर्स की बात कर रहे हैं, वो उनके पास है. वो जो प्रो इलेक्शन की अब इस टाइम बात कर रहे हैं, उनके पास वो चेंबर है, उनके पास वो सपोर्टर्स हैं, उनके पास वो सारा इकोसिस्टम है, हमारे जैसे लोगों के पास नहीं है. That is
नहीं
why
है.
I keep saying
That is,
silent majority.
there is no question. As I said in the beginning, I am kind of open right now. I am wanting to make up my mind. ठीक है, तो मैं अभी अपना ओपिनियन मेरे पास अभी नहीं है.
हाँ,
If
तो
somebody,
पर
I asked
उन्होंने
you
वो
counter
स्पेस
question.
स्क्वीज कर रखी है, तो
जी,
ये भी एक
मैंने आपसे
फैक्ट है.
मैंने आपसे काउंटर क्वेश्चंस पूछे is because that's the arguments I'm getting from the other side. So I'm saying ठीक है, fair enough. Let me play the devil's advocate here, and then the other side I will play the devil's advocate that side, and then see what my mind comes up to be. Because at the end of it, at the moment, मेरा एक कहना है कि भाई अगर आप टेररिज्म की वजह से कर रहे हो, इफ इट्स जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ टेररिज्म कमिंग इन फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान, वो तो चलता रहेगा. Other local factors is something I want to study more, talk about more, and then kind of make a decision कि भाई okay, here is where I stand. आप जम्मू से किसी से बात करो, वो कुछ सेपरेट बोलेंगे, कश्मीर से बात करो, सेपरेट बोलेंगे. So we need to have all the parties speaking in this, and तब जाके हमको कुछ पता चलेगा, because otherwise it will be a very one-sided sort of a conversation. I
I would
want to,
suggest bringing in some Ladakhis as well,
yeah,
because they have a stake in this too. Yeah.
yeah. I will, because I want to do this thing कि जब कोई ऐसा decision है, let's see what the people have to say as well, and that's the most important thing. And for
And the
that,
government needs to listen. And the government needs to listen. It needs to listen for a change.
we will do our part in talking, and they need to listen after that.
Contrary to the allegations, the government doesn't listen to us. It doesn't. No matter how patriotic we are, it doesn't listen to us. It does its own thing, and it's about time we tell them कि हमारी भी सुनिए, because we are the ones who are going to face the eventual results.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice talking to you after a while, and hope to see you back once again very soon.
My
Jai
pleasure.
Hind.
Thank you. Jai Hind.